Good evening. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Calimesa City Council, Monday, August 19th, and it is now 6 p.m. You want to do the roll call, Darlene?
Councilmember Cervantes.
Here.
Councilmember Manley.
Here.
Councilmember Molina.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hewitt.
Here.
Mayor Davis.
I'm here. Then we have City Manager Coble, City Attorney Burrow, City Clerk Gertis, Finance Director Reed. No, she isn't. I'm sorry. And let's see, Planning Director Lucia, Public Works Director Monson, City Engineer Thornton, Fire Chief O'Connell, and Sheriff Captain Northrop. And welcome, Mr. Northrop. Let's see. John, you want to do the pleasure?
Right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we go any farther, I notice I've got a lot of slips here for item number 10. It's been postponed until the 23rd of September. We're waiting for acknowledgement from the state on who can vote on the project. And so we won't know until by that time. So anybody wishing to comment on it, when we get to item 10, and I open it up, you can make a comment tonight, but you will not be able to make it on the 23rd. So it's that, or you can just wait until the 23rd and say your piece. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and give it to the city manager. He's got an announcement to make.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Tonight, we have a couple of things before we get to public comment. I wanted to first introduce Kyle Comey, our new Public Works Maintenance Superintendent. So, Kyle, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you. He comes to us from the city of San Jacinto with many years of experience in the public works field, and so we're very excited to have you. You know, Eric Williamson did a great job for us. You got big shoes to fill, but we know that you're more than capable. So, welcome aboard, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and I plan to do so. Have a good one.
Thank you.
And then it seems like the fire chief's got a presentation to give.
Evening, Mayor, members of the council. I'd like to call firefighter, paramedic Art Hernandez up to the podium with me. I've got a little bit of a lengthy read, so I'd like to welcome the Hernandez family here, Father Art, Mother Rhiannon, siblings Derek, Jaden, Kayla, and his fiancee Marina Padilla are with us tonight. Thanks for coming out. You know, the City of Calimesa Fire Department, the city itself is a family, and it's an honor to be able to get to do this from time to time. So, firefighter paramedic Arthur Hernandez, letter of accommodation. The City of Calimesa Fire Department believes in the recognition of employees and their actions and outstanding efforts in the service to the community. In keeping with this belief, the City of Calimesa and Calimesa Fire Department recognize firefighter paramedic Arthur Hernandez for his outstanding efforts that occurred as follows. This letter is to commend firefighter paramedic Arthur Hernandez for above and beyond patient care that resulted in saving of a resident's life. While eating at a local restaurant on duty, he was approached by a female by the name of Becky that wanted to let him know what a great job our firefighters and paramedics did. And that was Battalion Chief Jesse Quinalty was approached. Becky told Battalion Chief Quinalty that over the past few months she'd been having a few episodes of sudden onset breathing problems. She followed up to her local emergency room and sought medical care where they'd explained to her that it was anxiety and panic attacks. Art was called recently to the residence with the rest of his crew, and Becky stated that she wasn't feeling well and complained of dizziness. The crew responded with firefighter paramedic Arthur Hernandez at the helm, providing medical treatment. Firefighter paramedic Hernandez decided to run a 12-lead EKG based on her symptoms, and he found the patient to be in AFib with a run of SVT. Now, all these acronyms, I'm not a medical nerd, but Art could probably explain it to you very well. She was in distress. She was not feeling very well. At that time, Art advised the patient that she needed to be run down to the hospital. The patient was reluctant. She'd been to the hospital a few times with the same symptoms, and she didn't want to go back to the emergency room just to sit there because it was just anxiety. Art explained to her what he was seeing on the monitor and advised her that it was not anxiety, and that it was much more serious than what her symptoms seemed to be. During that call, Becky also explained to the firefighters that she had cardiac surgery after the call. She believes that if we're not for the persistence and a proper diagnosis from firefighter paramedic Art Hernandez, she might not be here to tell the story about what a great job Art and the crew did. The city of Calimesa commends firefighter paramedic Hernandez for his commitment to the customer and to the fire and emergency services as a whole. We truly believe that over the last year, Art's been a paramedic, and folks, you invested in him and took a chance on us starting this program, and you know the cost associated with that over the last couple of years. Art is making a difference in the community, and you can see that in the level of service that he provides as well as the other medics provide. It's also noteworthy to explain that in the last few months, Art has performed advanced life-saving procedures, and in some cardiac emergencies had the return of ROSC, return of spontaneous cardiac movement or cardiac activity, as well as recently delivering a new life into this world on a childbirth call. So I'll close with now therefore firefighter paramedic Art Hernandez's actions qualify him for this accommodation and bestows upon him the department and the city's appreciation. Thank you very much, Art.
Art, can I get you to come up here and sort of... And thank you, Chief. And this is what part of the thing is with this paramedic. We have to have them trained. They have to be certified. They have to have an idea. And here you have somebody that actually paid attention when they were in school and recognized problems, whereas sometimes people, they just ignore and go on. So I want to congratulate you. It's great. Okay, communications from the public. I've got one here. John Gates.
Good evening, Mayor Davis, and can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
And fellow council members and staff. As stated in the city's Calimesa website, the mission statement is, and I quote, to preserve and improve the quality of life and open space atmosphere in the city. The vision statement is, and I quote, is to maintain a community that honors its natural setting through trail systems, wildlife corridors, and open space preservation as well. And the city also aims to improve the quality of life through planning that creates new schools, parks, local jobs, and increased business activity. Just a refresher, that's all. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, could I get a motion, please? Do you have a comment?
Yeah, the reason I'm here at this moment, in the land use decisions in our area, in the past area, there's a very large body of community opposition to warehouse projects. So, you know, this has been a small town for many generations, but there is a point now where I'm asking the council to tolerate, maybe even embrace criticism. Okay, so we're going to say things that we're saying there's something wrong with this picture, okay? And I'm asking that we keep in mind that, yes, this is Calimesa, we're in the state of California, which gives the people in this audience protections under the Brown Act, so that when we initiate a comment and are given our 3 minutes, I'm asking the council, please do not interrupt us when we speak. We will be critical and may not make you feel well about that, but I'm asking you not to interrupt, and I would ask that the city attorney, if they could confirm our rights to uninterrupted public comments for our 3 minutes, and that's why I'm here. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't state your name and where you
Oh,
live.
my name's okay. Yeah, I live here in Beaumont. I mean, if you don't have
You mean
county.
you live in Beaumont?
Yeah,
You
I
live
don't.
here in Calimesa.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, if you don't have boundaries on the cities, 5 minutes.
Right.
You know, everything here in the past area is 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Just forget about the boundaries. Where do we shop? I shop Banding, I shop Calimesa. So we have jurisdictions and we have jurisdictional authority under, you know, your police power. I get all that legal stuff, but I'm right down the street here, about 5 minutes in Fairway Canyon. Okay, thank you.
Now, can I get somebody to make a motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda, consent calendar, and waiver of full reading of ordinances.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We will go ahead and move on to Chamber of Commerce reports.
Well, good evening. Just appreciate the opportunity to share what's going on with the Calimesa Chamber of Commerce, with our council. Start off with the breakfast meeting review for August. We had Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco as our guest speaker. It was very well attended. I happened to be not there, but I understand it was a really informative event, and from what I take, he officially announced his candidacy for governor, so that was exciting. Our September breakfast will feature California State Senator Rosalisi Ochoa. That will be on September 10th, 7:30 a.m. at the Haas Bistro. Tickets are available on the Calimesa Chamber website, and seating will be limited. Our October breakfast will feature Congressman Ken Calvert. The date will be October 8th at 7:30 a.m. and the location is still to be determined, so stay up to date by visiting our website. We currently delivered 26 new homeowner gift bags in August to all the new homeowners on in the area. We are scheduled to do another delivery in October. So that's so we're currently refilling our supplies for that event. And of course, all of you are aware, maybe not too many here, that the Calimesa State of the City Luncheon will be for 2024 will be September 26th be held at the plantation on the Lake Recreation Hall. Invitations have been sent out, and the registration link is on our website at calimesachamber.com. The Night at the Races Scholarship Fundraiser will be taking place on October 19th, also at the Plantation of the Lakes. This year's event will be hosted by our newly formed Calimesa Chamber Foundation. All proceeds from this event will go directly to fund our scholarship program, and tickets are also available on the website. And if I may, I am a firm believer in the scholarships for our young people, and we hope to have that well-attended event so that we can give away several scholarships to deserving young men and women. Our membership renewals for this year, or for this past month, are 5, and we had 3 new members join the chamber. We have a total of 135 members at this time. Any questions?
I have a question. Have you gone to the new ice cream place yet?
It's right next door, right? And I have not been there yet.
Well, it's not next door to you guys.
Yeah, well, it's next door to my office.
In the, yeah.
So, yeah.
So.
Yeah, so I plan on attending. You'll probably see me there
I've
anytime
been hearing
between
a lot
2
of good
and
things
8,
about it. So.
You know. So, yeah, new ice cream store. It's pretty awesome. Have them in town. You know. So, anybody who wants to open a business in Calimesa, and we will support them.
Tony?
Yes.
I have a comment. All Valley Urgent Care opened in the Cherry Valley Shopping Center. It's been open for 6 months, but there was a ribbon cutting by the Beaumont Chamber. It should have been our chamber. Wendy and I were there, and it's a very nice place. The best thing about it is they accept all insurances, including Kaiser, which means no more Fontana. You can go to Urgent Care, All Valley Urgent Care. It's a business run by a husband and his wife. The wife's an RN, the husband's a PA. And they have at least 8 medical rooms there. It's a big facility. They have a lab there. They also have X-ray and what do you call that? Ultrasound capability. So great place to go if you haven't been. Stop by and check it out. It's right across from the burger place there, the easternmost part of the shopping center. So if you haven't been by there, check it out so when you need it, you know where to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you. Guys, have a good evening.
Okay, I'm gonna open the public hearing for item number 9. Approval of General Plan Amendment 2102. Will?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, this presentation will be provided by our Planning Director, Kelly Lucia.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, members of the public. Thank you everyone for being here this evening. As Will mentioned, agenda item number 9 is, make sure my clicker works here. All right, is for General Plan Amendment 2102 and Ordinance number 399. These items are respectively GPA 2102 to review and consider recommendation of an amendment to the general plan to adopt the housing element for the 2021 to 2029 planning period, which is the 6th cycle in compliance with state law. Ordinance 399 is for Zone Change 2101, which is Amendment 1. This is a request for the council to review and consider a recommendation to the residential infill priority area overlay zone. And I have Bryant De La Torre here this evening from Kimley Horn, who is our housing element consultant, going to give the bulk of the presentation to you this evening.
Good afternoon. My name is Bryant De La Torre with Kimley Horn. Like Kelly mentioned, I'm the consultant for the housing element here. So we started this housing element over 2 years ago, actually over 3 now, in 2021. So you may have seen a bunch of this before. I'll try to be as thorough as possible, but also be efficient with your time. I know we have different items here. But first I want to, just explain what the housing element is. So it's a required element of the general plan. So every jurisdiction must update this element. It's the only element that needs to be updated regularly. So for every jurisdiction, it's 8 years. And the reason why we need to update it is because housing needs change. As we all know, the housing market adjusts, changes, populations move, increase, and whatnot. So we have to update every 8 years and also provide our goals and our strategies to be able to accommodate our housing need. This is the only housing element as well that needs to be reviewed and certified by the state. So our certification body, our reviewing body, is the Housing and Community Development Department of the state of California. Again, I went through this. It's every 8 years we need to update, but another reason why we need to update is to engage the community. Every 8 years, there's opportunity to engage in this process, have feedback, what residents want to see, what they may not want to see, and this is a space to provide a dialogue for that. But again, this program, this policy program, what it does is enacts our goals, our strategies, and really our policies for the next 8 years to ensure that we're compliant with all state law. So this process is kicked off by what we call RHNA. So RHNA stands for Regional Housing Needs Assessment. So what this does identifies the housing need for the entire state. So it starts with HCD, the Housing Community Development Department of California. They send it down to the councils of governments. So in Calimesa, that would be SCAG, Southern California Association of Government, and then SCAG distributes the fair share need for individual jurisdictions. So that process was done in 2020 or 2019 into 2020, and that's when all jurisdictions know what their need is. And what the RHNA really is how many units we need to accommodate for. This is really the projected housing need. So that kicks off, the RHNA process is what kicks off the housing element process. But for our 6th cycle, which is the years of 2021 to 2029, the total need was 2,017 units, which is significantly higher than the last cycle, and that's due to just the sheer increase of the community. And not only just the community, also the region. So like gentleman who spoke up here earlier, city matters are not just city matters, it's more of a regional thing. So you go 5 minutes one way, 5 minutes the other way, there's other cities around. So these units are meant for just our city, but understanding that some populations bleed into other jurisdictions as well. What I want to highlight here is that these units are broken down by income category. As you'll see, the largest category breakdown there is for above moderate income. This is what we would consider market rate. This is typical units we'll see, but we know that housing has become largely unaffordable, and there's a need for lower income housing. So you'll see the breakdown category for very low income, and moderate income, and those income ranges associated with each one of those categories is based on a family household of 4. So you'll see, for example, a moderate income household would be a household of 4 earning approximately $82,000 to $117,000. And that's really what we're planning for, is each one of those income categories. In the housing element, there's various chapters and appendices, and one of the biggest parts of that is the community profile. This is really a snapshot of our demographics. What's our population? How's it changed historically? What's our housing stock look like? How many units do we have? How many units are in need of maybe rehabilitation? And we kind of go through that. Look at housing costs, all those changes, just to kind of paint a picture of what our community looks like. Once we analyze that, we analyze what constraints do we have. So we know what we have, but what's constraining future development? And this largely falls into 3 categories. So this would be governmental constraints. So that's our zoning code, development standards, stuff that the city has enacted. Next, we have our non-governmental constraints. So these are things outside of the city's control. What are the market forces that may be constraining development? Are interest rates too high? Do we have labor costs that are too high? Those types of items that the city really has no control of, but still constrain the housing market. And then lastly, we have a bucket of environmental and infrastructure constraints. So are there areas of the city that you can't develop just because of environmental hazards and high fire severity zones, which is typically the biggest one. And then we have infrastructure constraints. Is there enough infrastructure to accommodate future housing? And we do all of this analysis under the umbrella of a term, which is AFFH. I'll be referring to it as AFFH, but it stands for Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing. So just making sure we have enough housing at every income category and making sure that it's evenly distributed so as not to segregate or concentrate a housing in specific areas. And many of the goals in our housing plan is through the lens of affirmatively furthering fair housing. All right, so chapter 4, which is the housing plan, this is really the teeth of the document. These are the actions that the city is taking through its housing element. There's various programs. I won't go through every single one, but there's 4 overall themes, and these are the 4 that you see on the screen. Each one of our housing programs falls into one of these 4 really like items. So, for example, H1 is encouraging the improvement, maintenance, and rehabilitation of the existing housing stock. So we know that we need to keep up with the need of housing, so new housing needs to be developed, but we also want to maintain the existing housing so as not to lose it. If we lose existing housing, that just means we need to build more housing. And you'll see the next 3, there's programs that fall into each one of those different categories. And then we go into our appendices. So the first appendix, Appendix A, we're looking at our past performance, so our performance from the last housing cycle. How effective were we in meeting our goals? If we met them, great. How can we learn from that? If we didn't meet our goals, how can we adjust or modify so that we can meet them in this next cycle? So we evaluate that in Appendix A. In Appendix B, this is where we look at where are we going to accommodate this housing. We like to be strategic. We don't want to go too big. We don't want to overcommit to accommodating too much housing, but we want to make sure that we have sufficient space. We have appropriate zoning and development standards to be able to facilitate housing development. And again, I just want to preface that the housing element doesn't require cities, any jurisdiction to develop housing. You just need to accommodate for housing. So if someone was to come in, make sure that they're able to develop based off of our standards here, they can feasibly develop. And lastly, we have Appendix C. So this just highlights all community engagement as part of this process. So we highlight every single community engagement event, any meeting, any hearing. We highlight that in Appendix C. So here we'll go through the timeline. These are just kind of big picture items. These were big meetings that were noticed as well. But we had our first housing element related item was also a discussion with the overlay zone, which you're also considering tonight. But in May 2021, that's kind of when it kicked off. Another discussion city council workshop, June 2021. And then the very first solo housing element workshop was in October 2021. We had another joint session with the Planning Commission as well, November 2021. And then fast forward to August of last year, Planning Commission considered the adoption of the overlay zone, which we're considering tonight. And then this body adopted that overlay zone in October 2023. Go forward. So just as a refresher, the overlay zone that we're considering adopting tonight is the residential infill priority overlay zone. I'll be referring to it as RIP AOZ, just so I don't have to repeat that again. But the RIP AOZ is really our strategy to accommodate a part of our RENA, so a part of our units for the housing element. So although they're separate items, they're really the housing element requires the overlay zone to accommodate our need. So again, in October 2nd of last year, the City Council adopted the overlay zone. In November 22nd of 2023, we resubmitted to HCD, the Housing Community Development Department. And then in January of this year, the city found us in statutory compliance, but the overlay zone still had minor adjustments to comply with Government Code Section 65583.2, specifically subdivision H and I, which we'll go into in a second. So again, in response to that letter that HCD sent to the city, staff began drafting the amendment to the overlay, which we're considering tonight. The proposed amendments would only apply to 7 parcels, which are under Area 2 of the overlay zone. So there's 2 areas within the overlay zone. There's Area 1 that would allow townhomes, condos, duplexes, single-family homes at densities up to 15 dwelling units per acre. And then the second area is Area 2, which is the amendments are being proposed to would allow the same product types as Area 1, but also include apartments at up to densities of 35 dwelling units per acre. And then, so that's the existing as adopted, and that's currently adopted now, and that's what's in place. These amendments that are being considered are amendments in response to HCD's last letter in January, and with these amendments, it would put the city into compliance with state law. So the changes to the Area 2, again, it's just 7 parcels, and what this would do is the changes would permit mixed uses as a in the base zone, or sorry, parcels that allow mixed uses in the base zone would allow 100% residential. So that mixed use zone would go from, you know, maybe allowing some or 100% non-residential, but now it would not require any percentage residential. So, or sorry, no percentage non-residential. So hypothetically, if someone came in and proposed 100% residential project on a mixed-use zone, that would be allowed. And the requirement would also allow at least 50% in those base zones. So again, and then second point is there would be really a by right really approval for any project that proposed 20% affordability on a project. So this is meant to attract affordable development. It not having a non-discretionary action reduces the amount of time for a project to be go through the approval process, which would save a developer money, which would help bring affordable units to the city. And then this third point here is, again, if a project was to bring proposed 20% affordable units and it was identified in one of the 2 prior housing element cycles, they would have, again, that incentive of a non-discretionary approval there. And then I want to say this last point is one of the biggest changes as part of this amendment is that before Area 2 allowed from 1 dwelling unit to 35, and this change would set a bottom, so the range would begin at 20 dwelling units per acre. So the maximum wouldn't change, it would remain 35, but the minimum would be 20 dwelling units per acre.
Thank you. And I just wanted to jump in here. I did the same thing with Planning Commission. I just want to make sure the council understands that last point there very clearly. So when we established the overlay zone, we brought it to council and said this is really all about choice. We want this to be market driven. We want the densities to be as low or as high as the market demands. We thought it was a great strategy. The state of California didn't agree so much on our Area 2. And so this last bullet point is saying for Area 2, which the council would be familiar with, this is over off of Avenue L. We are west of the I-10, adjacent to South Mesa Mobile Home Park. There's kind of a large land assemblage that's undeveloped over there, south of Avenue L. So that area, what this is saying is that area, per these amendments, will be required to have a density of 20 dwelling units to the acre, and you can basically read that to mean apartments. The amendments, as presented to you this evening, would require apartments over in that area. I just want to make sure the council's very clear of that point.
And also, I will also add on to that as well. It doesn't require that they're affordable units. It just gives them certain incentives if they have a certain percentage of them. But they can theoretically all be market rate apartments if a developer so chose to build those.
Thank you both. All right. So next steps is again, we got that letter from latest letter from HCD in January. The amendments for the overlay zone began, and on April 11, 2020. Sorry, that's April 11, 2024. We ran this by HCD, the amendments that are being proposed tonight. And then on May 23rd, they essentially gave the thumbs up that these amendments, if adopted, are compliant with state law and would comply with Government Code 65583.2, subdivisions H and I. So that brings us to last month. So on July 22nd of this year, the Plan Commission recommended that City Council approve the General Plan Amendment 2102 and the Zoning Code Amendment 2101. So the city is required to adopt the amendments and the housing element to come into statutory compliance with housing element law. Once the city, if the city adopts this will resubmit to HCD. Within 60 days, HCD must send a response letter. We anticipate that because they've already seen these amendments, they've already given the thumbs up. It should be quicker than 60 days, but the state technically has up to 60 days to give a response. And that response would be a certification letter. So I'll pass it off to Kelly for the rest of the part. Thank you.
So with that, the recommended actions before you would be to adopt City Council Resolution 2024-51. Also waive the full reading and introduce ordinance number 399 by title only. Myself, Brian, and the City Attorney's Office are all here to answer any questions you may have regarding these items. Thank you.
Questions? Anybody?
Sure, I'll go first. So as far as the change on the minimum density on the one specific zone over there, is that something that changed in statute since it was approved, or is it just it was never actually in compliance when they went to review it again?
It was never, our housing element unfortunately has not been approved. So we had this strategy whereby we would implement our overlay zone and we would be able to make our shortfall up through zoning. However, when they took a closer look at it, they said, hey, actually we noticed there's no minimum density and that's not gonna work. So that's the primary revision that we're recommending tonight.
Okay. Was there anything else that was specific in this change from what was we previously approved?
Back to that slide. So there are, this is the slide that shows the amendments. As Bryant discussed, one of them is that there is one parcel that has a split zoning designation of commercial and residential. So on that one parcel, we have to permit 100% residential use, whereas before we could say, hey, this is a mixed-use parcel, you need to incorporate some commercial. So that's one revision. Again, that's entirely driven by the state of California requiring that. Also, if a developer comes forward and there's at least 20% affordability required, then it's a non-discretionary permit or action that would be required on the city's part. And then also, let's see, that third bullet point says that if a development has, again, 20% affordability, if the parcel is non-vacant and used in a prior housing element or vacant and used in two prior housing element cycles. So that's just another provision that says if it's vacant and, excuse me, if it's non-vacant and it was used in a prior cycle and they have 20% affordability, we have to require it at a ministerial level. And then that last one, in my opinion, is the largest change, and that's that minimum density. The other three are kind of, in my opinion, minor clarifications that we would have had to do anyways, but the state said you need to explicitly say this in your ordinance. But whether it was in the ordinance or not, we were going to be required to do it. And that fourth bullet point, that's the major revision.
And I'll just add too, you know, these housing laws are very, very complex, and they get more complex as time goes on. And so sometimes, and it's also, HCD is given a lot of latitude through state statutes for interpretation of these things. And so a lot of times, sometimes it comes down to not only the complexity of the laws, but also HCD's interpretation of those laws. So in this case, you know, it wasn't necessarily a miss on staff's part or on the consultant's part. It was just interpretation of the law. This is how we want you to do it, and they have the authority to tell us to do that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, clarifies.
It also didn't help that we had, what was it, 4 different reviewers during the course of our review. Usually you would get 1, maybe 2. And it felt like we had a revolving door of reviewers. And so every time you have a new reviewer, you kind of have, unfortunately, fresh eyes on the document, poking holes in it.
My only comment is, cities don't build housing, but I would like to see, our city is a desired location for many people going east from Los Angeles, and also from the east coming west. I would like to see senior housing projects come forward so that we don't just have mobile parks for senior housing, and we have more housing for seniors, if that's their choice. That's what I would like to see. Thank you.
Just quickly, the way I understand this, Kelly, is that if we want our housing element approved, these are required amendments that we need to approve. In other words, we don't really have any leeway, or there's nothing discretionary about these amendments, in my understanding. Fortunately, I don't see them as problematic either.
Yeah.
They're just revisions, but we need to approve these, right?
Yeah, I would say so. So the Planning Commission had a similar question, and I'll answer in a similar way. So the City Council has the ability to come up with a variety of different alternatives for how we're going to meet housing element law. And we spent a significant amount of time and city dollars coming up with this plan. So by all means, if the council were to direct staff and say, you know what, we're tossing out what we've worked on for the last several years, start over, we could. That's certainly not staff's recommendation. Again, we've spent significant dollars and significant time to get to this point. So it is staff's recommendation at this point, where these couple of bullets that are on the slides in front of you are our last hurdle to get that certification. So again, yeah, in my opinion, and in my recommendation, the City Council should move forward with these requirements of the state.
And I would add to that too, the state, right now, a city can go ahead and approve its housing element even if the HCD does not approve of it or certify it. But the consequences that usually it lands you in court, and a court would basically decide, they say, you know what, we believe that our housing element is compliant with the law because of these reasons, and then it gets adjudicated, which obviously causes a significant amount of cost. If there were still significant deficiencies that they're identifying that we don't agree with, then maybe that's the course of action. But these, in the grand scheme of things, these are relatively minor. And so, but there is legislation pending that would basically take that ability away and give HCD even more jurisdiction, and take that ability away. Is that if you don't have a certified housing element with HCD, the builder's remedy, for example, would be applicable, regardless, and you couldn't even take it to a court. If HCD does not approve it, the builder's remedy applies. And that would be a significant change. It's still making its way through the legislature, but that's a potential that we could be facing as well.
Thank you, Kelly.
No, I would just like to say we spent a lot of time on this, so a couple of things is not going to kill us, I guess. Like you said, they're relatively minor. We don't want the state to have to come in and tell us which direction we're going to go on things. So doing this is actually our way of trying to set the boundaries, so to speak. But I want to thank you guys. We did spend a lot of time. You guys spent a lot of time going over it, and so thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll just add one more thing. It's kind of state that strongly opposed to the mandates by the state, but I know we've spent a lot of time on it. So I think these, like Will said, these are very minor considering all the stuff that we have done. So, I mean, I agree we need to be in compliance whether we like it or not. So,
Yeah.
Right.
I just want to state that I am opposed to it, but I will, I'm in favor of getting these passed so that we can be in compliance with state law, so we don't have any additional issues in this particular area.
I think we would all rather not have the state telling us what to do, but in the spirit of trying to be in compliance with state law, yeah, I would echo what you said.
Yeah. Well, with that, can I get a motion?
Public testimony.
I have none. I'm sorry. I will close the public hearing. Yeah, go ahead.
I recommend that we adopt resolution 2020, that the city council adopt resolution 2024-51 approving general plan amendment 21-02 adopting the city of Calimesa sixth cycle housing element update. Do you want me to do both of them together?
I'll
Second.
second. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 2, waive full reading and introduce ordinance number 399 by title only, an ordinance of the city Calimesa approving zone change 21-01, amendment 1, amending chapter 18.20, residential zone districts, and Chapter 18.90 development plan review of the municipal code to clarify the review procedures and standards applicable to housing projects on sites subject to the residential infill priority area overlay zone, Area 2, and to comply with the state housing element law to comply with state housing element. That was repeated, element law.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It was
That was
5-0
awful.
on both.
So this will come back for second reading on your next consent calendar.
Okay. Now I will open the public hearing for the public hearing Oak Valley North. And as I stated originally, is we'll take any comments on this right now, but come the 23rd, you will not have a chance to say them again. You know, it's just one time, that's it. And, but you're more than welcome to, leave a comment, or give us a comment.
If I may,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I would just want to clarify on that. So we're opening the public hearing, and then we're asking for a continuance to September 23rd. So the September 23rd hearing would be just a continuance of the current one, which is why there's one public hearing, and you can speak on the item one time. And the option to speak tonight would be, there is going to be no discussion on the project, so I want that to be understood. Because we are exploring a potential conflict for two of the council members, so we want to make sure that we're checking with the state Fair Political Practices Commission, which is the authority on that particular subject, and they will provide us an advice letter and explain whether or not those two council members may participate. So because there may be a conflict, it would not be appropriate for the council to discuss the item tonight. And the other thing is, on the comments, public comment will come after staff presentation and applicant presentation. So, based on what is given on that report, it may change what you want to say. So, your comments may have more impact on the 23rd. If you're able to make it, obviously, if you are here tonight and cannot make the 23rd, obviously it would be best to make the comments tonight. But I just want to throw it out there for the clarification for the public. Thank you.
We'll have a comment. And so the letters that were submitted after the agenda was posted, those will also have the same,
Yes, so all the letters that are in the agenda tonight as part of the packet will be included in the packet again on the 23rd. The additional ones that we received since the agenda was posted, that you have on the dais tonight, those will also be included, including any that we receive up to the time that the September 23rd agenda is posted as well. So if we do get additional letters, those will also be included in your packet.
So who's going to present? Who's going to present?
For tonight?
Yeah.
There is no presentation tonight.
Okay.
Because of the continuance.
So I will go ahead and move on to public comment.
So what I would recommend is you read off the names of the people that you have, and they can state to whether they want to speak tonight or whether they want to defer to the 23rd. If they do, we will keep your card for the 23rd hearing.
Okay. Juanita Jimenez. Gone home? I can't read the last name, can you?
Gates?
Is it Gates? No. Are you gonna wait, or? Okay. Joan Fritz. Ron Roy?
He spoke already.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. Okay. Henry Sanchez?
He already spoke. Oh, no, this is, so he wants to speak when? Oh, okay, well, you already had one in there, but. Okay. Ron Roy. Ron Roy, did you want to speak again tonight?
I don't think I called you yet, but you.
Well, I'm sorry, I did.
David Zates? Thank you, sir. I know who this is, but
Oh, Miss Wright. James, James, did you want to speak tonight?
right now we're talking about the project. The project is all we're talking about right now. I don't know. This says agenda item number 10, that's it. It'll be then. I have no idea what you're telling me. Okay.
Part of that presentation is dealing with another subject matter, and I didn't get it in during the public comment period, and I was told that as long as I didn't touch on the project subject,
Well, that time is over. Sorry. Valentino's Chic?
He must have left.
Bill Thomas, I didn't even see you. Oh, there you are. Broken. You want to speak now?
it's the most bizarre proposition I've ever heard, that the public can't speak. It's very unsettling to me.
Bill?
I'm a 41-year resident of the community. I have 3 properties in town. I hire people in town. And I understand what's happening here with the city attorney and the manager. But I'm telling you publicly, this is very unsettling. I will defer with complete, utter disrespect for the process.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ron Roy.
I just have a quick question. If we speak tonight, do we exhaust our right to speak?
Correct.
Or can we speak tonight and speak on the 23rd?
No.
In other words, if I don't speak tonight, I lose the right to speak on the 23rd.
Correct.
And other questions, still procedural. I just want to double check. There's going to be no vote to approve the project tonight or tie to the project.
What part didn't you understand when I said that?
I just, it's on me. So, no motion.
Yeah.
To approve
And so Mayor, just to perhaps clarify that, since this is one public hearing, you'll have 3 minutes to speak either tonight or on the 23rd. Just like any other public meeting, any other public hearing, so. And this is a typical way to address this. Oftentimes people will wait till they hear the staff report and then they speak. Or sometimes they cannot make the 23rd, so they would speak now and it's all going to be part of the same record. So it will all be considered if you speak tonight or on the 23rd. It is either or. You'll have an opportunity on the 23rd at the beginning of the meeting to speak of other items. But if you want to talk about the project, you get one opportunity to do that either tonight or on the 23rd.
There will not be no vote. There will be no vote.
No vote. Okay.
So, go ahead. So, Mayor, if there's no one else wants to speak tonight, at this time it'd be appropriate to keep the public hearing open and continue this item to a date certain, which is September 23rd.
And this is what we're going to do, so, and everybody agrees with that.
It's Monday. It's Monday. I just want to clarify. It's Monday, September 23rd.
Yes.
Do we need a motion for this, or can we just?
It can be done by the order of the chair.
Yeah, so.
Okay. No,
that's
no
what we're doing,
objection.
yeah. Okay, we move on to business items, number 11. Appointment of a League of California Cities voting delegates. If somebody wants to leave, they're more than welcome to. You don't have to sit here and watch us.
I'll just wait till they leave.
Is that you, Darlene?
It is. I'll wait till it
Maybe
gets
we can
quiet.
take a 5-minute recess, Mayor,
Can we get
until everyone
just a
clears.
minute to get out?
Yeah.
We'll wait. I felt like he wasn't understanding.
Hello? Hello? You hear me now? Ah, there you go. The light was green. Anyway, as I was saying, the annual conference of the League of California Cities will be held in October in Long Beach. And every year we have to select a voting delegate and an alternate delegate from any of those that are attending. So this is the night to do that because I have to give the information to the league shortly. With that, I will let you know that Councilmember Molina is attending. She's already signed up to go. I do not have any other council members that have expressed interest to attend. So at this point, we probably only need to make one appointment and not a not an alternate. So I'll leave that to you.
Any other people want to go or planning on going? Or?
No, I don't have any problem with Councilmember Molina representing
And
him.
we'll have no alternatives or alternates.
Do we need one? Are
Not
you gonna
really,
go
no,
for
she
sure?
goes.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a formality, I'll serve as an alternate if we need one. Sure.
I believe an alternate isn't required if we only have one attending. So I
Okay.
think if we just make that one appointment, that's enough.
Okay. Get a motion?
I'll move to appoint Councilmember Molina to our City's voting delegate.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, ordinance number 400, amendment to the Calimesa Municipal Code 2.10.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This item related to city council compensation has been discussed several times by the city council. We first brought this item forward at the February 5th, 2024 city council meeting. It was then agendized for March 18th for our follow-up discussion, but that discussion was continued due to the absence of a city council member from that meeting. Fast forward to the last meeting on August 5th, city council directed staff to bring forward an ordinance to consider increasing the city council compensation. This is similar to what cities up and down the state have been doing in response to Senate Bill 329. Although 2 members were absent from the last meeting, the decision to bring the item forward, excuse me, let me move my technology around, hopefully that'll help. The decision to bring that item forward doesn't have any weight. It was just to bring this ordinance forward for the full council consideration. So the amount that is proposed in the ordinance is $700 per month, and this was an inflation-adjusted equivalent of $300 back in December of 1990 when the city was incorporated. So this is just looking at inflation for the last 34 years almost to calculate what $300 then would be worth today. So it comes out to about $704 actually, so we're just rounding it to 700. So that concludes staff's presentation, and we're available to answer any questions that the council may have. Thank you.
Any questions?
How many questions? I think we talked about this last time, and adjustment for inflation seems reasonable. I also like the idea of attracting good candidates to perhaps get involved in city council, and one way to do that is make it an option for those who maybe might not otherwise can afford it, and so maybe that will go a long way in getting someone else to participate. So no objections.
Any other comments?
I have just another comment. If it's up to the individual council person if they'd like to opt to receive an increase in compensation, or they can donate it, or they can waive it. So I also agree that it's a way to attract people from the community to step forward and get involved in their city. And it's not a large amount, but it's certainly more than it was, and I think it'll get people interested, hopefully, to step forward and get involved in their city. Thank you.
You know, I personally, this isn't something you do for money. You know, this is something you do to help the community, work with the community, and be part of the community, and have some interaction that you can do things. I have no problem with, you know, I can't see where $700 is going to make somebody want to run. You know, we have had, I know one member that was on the council, they went over to another agency, and why did they do that? Because they could make 6 times more. You know, and they flat said it was for the money. You know, and this isn't a position that you're doing it for the money. You know, and that's for a lot of people that's their Social Security money, $700. You know, so I can understand that an extra 7 could really kick in, but however you guys want to do it, I don't care. So if somebody wants to make a motion, you can.
I'll go ahead and make the recommendation that the City Council adopt first reading by title only of ordinance number 400, an ordinance of the City of Calimesa amending Calimesa Municipal Code Section 2.10.040 to increase City Council salary pursuant to Senate Bill 329.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Thank you, John. And Linda, yes, you can just donate it back to the city. I checked on that earlier. I was told years ago you couldn't, but I was proven wrong. Mayor and council members reporting of county and regional meetings. John?
I did not attend any regional meetings, so that'll conclude my report.
Linda?
Yes, I attended on August 7th, RTA Budget and Finance Committee meeting, routine items. Also on August 13th, the chamber had their breakfast meeting where Chad Bianco came and spoke to the community. August 14th, RCTC's meeting was not held because they go dark in August. And on August 14th, the county had their State of the County for the 5th District at Morongo. And it was well attended and informational. Thank you.
Me?
Jeff?
I was not required to attend any meetings, so I don't have anything to say.
Thank you. Jeff?
On August 14th, I also attended the State of the 5th District, the county, at Morongo. Supervisor Gutierrez and his staff gave a great update on the state of the county and its activities in various cities. I thought it was interesting that the budget has reserves of nearly $700 million in the county, pretty significant. And they approved a $9.6 billion budget. Billion with a B. That is bigger than 11 states in this country, our county. So that's also pretty significant. So that concludes my report, Mayor.
Okay, city manager comments and reports.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have two quick items. I just want to once again thank Supervisor Gutierrez and the Beaumont Cherry Valley Recreation and Park District for hosting the movie in the park on August 9th. The event was well attended and everyone seemed to have a great time, and we already had people asking us when our next one is going to be, and unfortunately it won't be this year, but we're already it's certainly on our radar for next year to have at least one, maybe more. The district has the kind of the infrastructure to put an event on like that, and so they did a lot of the heavy lifting. We had a city booth though giving away popcorn, so and we went through a lot of popcorn that night, so it was great. But we had a little glitch with the movie at the beginning, but we worked through that. And other than that, it was a really enjoyable evening. So the last thing is, I think I might have announced this before, but the city is transitioning its website or its web domain to a new name, calimesa.gov. There was an assembly bill that required all cities to transition to a .gov email, or excuse me, web address and for emails by 2029. So we got kind of on board with that early, and it's a good thing we did, because now a lot of cities are starting to do that, and the time to get a .gov is increased dramatically. So we were able to get ours secured pretty quickly. Our cityofcalimesa.net domain will still continue to work, so we're not, that's still going to be there. But our email addresses have already been updated to the new calimesa.gov. So if you see a calimesa.gov email address, that is from us. It is legitimate. And then the website, if you go to calimesa.gov on the web, it will not work at this point yet. We have not started pointing our web traffic to that domain, but that's the next step, and we'll make an announcement once that takes place. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we're going to adjourn the regular meeting of the city council on Monday and return on Monday, September 18th?
16.
16th.
16. At 6 o'clock.